And welcome back to the Rural Opportunities Podcast. As you know, this is our City of Camrose Municipal Elections Week. And today I have the great pleasure of speaking with Max Lindstrand, who is running for mayor of the City of Camrose. So welcome, Max. We're so glad you're here.
Thank you so much, Diane.
It's great to have you here. So let's just jump into it. I have 5-6 questions that I'm going to ask you and you can answer. And yeah, we're looking forward to you getting to know you a little bit better. So we know your name, but tell us a little bit about yourself and why you're running for mayor.
Okay, well, I'll start then by saying that I'm just completing my 4th term on council.
Wow.
Yeah. So now, and then we'll go back to the beginning.
Okay.
I was actually born in Camrose.
Yeah.
And I grew up on a farm northeast of here. As far as my education is concerned, I attended school in Round Hill.
Oh.
I graduated from the high school there.
Yeah.
And then went on to Camrose Lutheran College for a year. Then on to the University of Alberta, where I got a Bachelor of Education degree. I met my wife. We were married 3 days after we graduated.
I read that in your bio.
Yeah, and we started teaching together in Hay Lakes. Subsequent to that, I earned a master's degree in education from the University of Montana.
Okay.
And I also worked on my doctorate, but then I ended up not finishing that because I became a principal at Camrose High School.
Oh.
And I couldn't get a way to do the residency that would have been required.
Okay.
So that's my educational background.
Yes.
When I was a kid, I loved sports. I got involved in every sport imaginable. Baseball was my biggest passion.
Okay.
And I ended up playing in the national championships representing on the Alberta team for a couple of different times in Moncton and Sarnia.
So that both great cities.
Yeah. So sports was really important to me then. As far as my teaching career, I started in Hay Lakes, as I said, for 4 years. Then I went to New Norway, where I was vice principal for 4 years.
Yeah.
And then into Camrose, to the Camrose Comps High School, where I spent 28 years.
Wow.
Yeah. And of those 28, 21, I was serving as the principal.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So that is you don't hear those kind of numbers anymore with people with their careers, and it's always admirable.
But I've talked too much about myself, not enough about my family. My wife is Alice, who is also a retired teacher. And we have 2 children who are both teachers as well. And we have a daughter-in-law that's a nurse and a grandson that's heavily involved in French immersion. Very nice.
And does he love his French immersion?
He really does. And he's really good at it. My wife is trilingual, French, Spanish, and English. And so, for me, I manage in English.
Yeah.
So well in the other languages.
Myself too. My husband speaks German at home with his family, and I am not fluent in that either. So I understand enough to be dangerous. Okay, so that's a great educational background. It obviously runs in the blood of all the Lindstrands, the call to educate, which is a noble calling. So let's go into question 2. In what capacities have you been involved, which I think you've already alluded to, but we'll dive into that, involved in the city activities in your past?
Well, there's 2 parts to that question, I guess. The first would be in the community, what have I done?
Yeah.
And I've really been engaged a lot. I was secretary of the Camrose Theatre Society. I was president of the Music Festival Committee. I was vice president of the Camrose Japan Friendship Society. I was treasurer of the Camrose Community Choir, president of the Bethany Hospital Board, president of Messiah Lutheran Church. So I guess my whole life has been involvement in various community organizations and generally speaking in leadership roles in those things. Then the other part of it is what have I done in terms of council? And in my 4 terms on council, I've served on virtually every committee that we have. Currently, I'm involved with the Lodge Authority, the CDSS, that's the support services, Green Action Committee, Performing Arts Center, Board of Governors, the Regional Solid Waste Authority, Community Transit Advisory Committee, Discretionary Grants Review Committee, Education Liaison, Finance Committee, and the Subdivision and Appeal Board. So, I've had a lot of engagement in the community over the years.
Over 4 terms, it sounds like you've pretty much done it all at the city. Good for you. Any favorites? Any passion projects out of those?
Well, I've been fortunate to work with 3 mayors, and they've always sort of appointed me to committees I was very interested in. In fact, the Green Action Committee was one that I actually initiated when I was first on council.
Oh, okay, great.
We have to be aware of the fact that climate change there is a reality there, and we need to see what we can do to mitigate the effects of climate change.
Yeah.
As one example, and I was also very involved in the social services side of things.
Yeah,
and the arts too. Very, very committed to the arts.
Fantastic! Wow, what a breadth of experience, and obviously a good understanding of what makes Camrose so great as a city. So that's exciting. What is the greatest strength that you bring, or do you think you'll bring to the role of mayor? And what do you think your biggest learning curve, and especially for you, Max, who served for 4 terms, right?
Okay, Diane, I think my greatest strength for the position of mayor is my leadership style. As I mentioned before, I had 21 years of experience as principal of Camrose Compton High School. And I think you could describe my leadership as listening carefully to everyone and trying to use their ideas as much as possible. Everyone deserves to be heard and valued, and morale is very important to me. When I was principal at the high school, I achieved almost unanimous support from my staff. And so I think that would be my greatest strength to the role of mayor, to listen to people, engage in people, and use their ideas. Having served 4 terms on council, I really don't expect a huge learning curve. I worked with 3 mayors, and I think looking at their particular ways of handling the position, I don't think that there's anything there that I would consider to be a huge challenge.
Okay. So you've kind of seen it over your 4 years, and obviously all the city staff in there, right? Have good working relationships with them already. So that's great. So question number 4, what is a change in the city that you would like to see happen, and how do you believe you will help to be a part of that?
Well, that's a really important question, Diane. We're hopefully we're at the tail end of this pandemic, and that brings with it the challenge of economic recovery for our business who have struggled to bounce back through these troubled times. I'm also very concerned about the social needs in the community, as well as need to address climate change. And there's 2 other things I'd like to talk about. And one is collaboration with other municipalities. I think as a region, we can be a lot more powerful and strong if we work together with other municipalities on various projects. And the last one that I want to talk about is something that's very troubling to many people who live in Camrose, and that's the fact that we have a railroad track crossing through the city, and at times the trains are long, and there's a long wait at those various crossings. And my concern is that if there was an emergency, a fire or a serious car accident on the north side, ambulances and fire trucks would have a very difficult time getting there. So I think we really need to look at what can be done to address that shortfall, which would probably either an underpass or an overpass to make that.
Yeah. And I think too, highlighted from the Lac La Médusine, and I'm going to say their name wrong, but the Lac La Médusine accident in Quebec with rail yards going through cities. I am for listeners, I do live on that north side, on the other side of the railroad track, and it's concern.
So you hear that feedback from
yes,
neighbors?
Our whole neighborhood talks about it. So what happens when a fire breaks out and there's a train through all of Camrose? Right. And we all have water hoses. I guess that's so I one of the greatest challenges. So good for you for addressing it. Right. You're the first person I've heard talk about that. So that's great. Number 5, why is municipal politics important to you?
Even as a child, I was interested in politics and listening to my dad and my uncles talk about politics. And
great.
So I've had a long interest in that. And when I was in university, every chance I got with an option course, I would pick a political science course. So I've always been interested in that. Of course, the time when I was working as a teacher and principal, I really didn't have time to get directly involved. But of the 3 orders of government in Canada, I consider it to be the municipal level of government to be the most engaged with the people,
I agree.
closest to the people. And so that's part of the reason that municipal politics attracts me more than provincial or federal.
Yeah.
However, that comes with a challenge, and that's that I think only 7 or 8 cents of every tax dollar collected goes to the municipalities, and yet the municipalities are expected to provide a lot of services for people.
Absolutely.
So it's a real challenge financially to provide a high level of service with the funds that we have available.
Yeah, and it's a great learning curve. I would encourage listeners and as well those that are not in our region. We have some listeners that come to us from overseas and down in the United States. It is a challenge as municipalities and their funding, right? And I only see that getting greater. Us as a nonprofit charity, we know we worry about that every day too. So yeah, no, absolutely. I love municipal politics. And I think all our listeners, we just went through an election in Canada. And much like the US, we're all sick of hearing about parties. So I find municipal elections the purest of elections, put it that way. That's you can spam Diane, right? That was me. Number 6, why do you believe that you are the best candidate for the position of mayor?
Well, what we bring to the position of mayor, first and foremost, is an extensive background of leadership experience.
Okay.
And with this election that's upcoming, there are only 2 incumbents running. So the new council will be a lot of new faces, new to politics, new to the city.
New to governance.
City operates, exactly. And so I think it's going to be really critical that we have a leader that has had extensive experience in leading various groups. And so I think that would be my greatest strength, in addition to the fact that I also bring a wide range of issues that I'm concerned about, and that we need to strive to make Camrose an even better place for every resident here. So that I think those are the reasons why I think I would like people to vote for me, because I think I know I can do a good job, and I would be a leader for everyone.
I love that, right? It's not about just a select few, right? It's when we take on these positions, we know we're responding to everybody in the community that counts on our support. That is fantastic. That's my question. So you have, I think it's a minute or 2 if you want to throw in anything else, Max.
Well, I guess the only other things that I might talk about would be some of the things in Camrose that are really appealing, and things that really make Camrose a jewel.
Yes.
And one of those obvious things would be the trail system we have.
Yes.
And that's one of the things that the pandemic has brought is got people out on the tracks walking, so there's been a benefit to that.
Yeah,
and we're blessed with the natural beauty of our valley, and so those trails just accentuate that.
Yeah.
I'm also really pleased that we now have 2 performing theaters, the Bailey Theater and the Lougheed Center.
Yeah.
I also think that we have potential for summer festivals.
Yeah.
We've got Jubilee Park could be a natural venue for Shakespeare in the Park.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I can get going on things like that I consider to be really important values that we have in Camrose.
Yeah. And it's, definitely we want to support. And we know part of a healthy community is that support of arts and culture, and only building that out. So that's exciting.
We have facilities, recreation facilities for virtually everything.
Everything.
First class golf course, curling, hockey, swimming, it goes on and on.
Yeah.
There are lots and lots of opportunities for everyone here.
Yeah. So there you go, listeners. I have said it and I say it after every interview. If you're not moving to Camrose already, I don't know what's wrong with you. It is the most beautiful city in Alberta, and you would enjoy it here and I think you'd probably be surprised just how much we have going on here. So we hope you consider a move to Camrose, Alberta. Max, thank you so much for your time. It was great to know you and great to talk to you. And we wish you the best of luck on your candidacy and your run for mayor.
Thank you very much, Diane. Thank you for hosting this.
My pleasure. And we'll have more episodes of Rural Opportunities Podcast coming up with other candidates soon. Stay tuned. So, welcome back to the Rural Opportunities Podcast. I am delighted today to be with Count Hycha, who is running for City Councillor yet again. How many terms have you done?
Well, first, thanks for having me, Diane.
Oh, it's a pleasure.
Like I said before, or when we were talking, this is my very first podcast, so I feel honored that I get to be part of the CRE's
Yay!
podcast. And, to answer your question, I've been in 2 terms, so this will be the 3rd term if I am fortunate to be reelected.
That's fantastic. What a commitment. So first off, thank you for your service. What people I don't think in the general population understand is how much time and effort it takes to serve. So thank you for that.
And I have to admit that was probably one of the biggest stumbling blocks that I had to throw my hat in again. Because you're right. People don't realize.
Yeah.
If they think they can just go to a meeting and open up their notes and carry on.
Right.
Wrong.
Right.
And on the second half, we sit on a lot of boards.
Yeah.
And that's very time consuming. I always told people council is easy.
Yes.
It's all the other boards, like the CRE.
Like the CRE, right? We had a board meeting last night, right?
So those are the challenges that councilor has to do.
Yeah. And I would recommend to people, if you haven't, or if you're not, please go in and read those agendas and then pretend you're going to read the package that goes with it. And there's sometimes 300 pages.
Oh, I know.
So this is not a light undertaking. So that's, we're always respectful of people who decide to take it on.
And if you don't commit,
you
do an injustice to the citizens of the city or your family. So you really have to want to be a counselor to do a good job.
That's right. And you've done a fantastic job for 2 terms. So we're excited to see if you can get a 3rd in. So for people who don't know you, Kevin, maybe tell them a little bit about yourself. What's your regular life when you're not being a city councillor?
So I moved to Camrose almost 35 years ago.
Okay.
I met my wife here. And we have 2 children, grown children now.
Okay.
A girl and a boy, Amy and Thomas.
Yeah.
So up until they grew up, that took a big part of my life.
Yeah.
Too.
Yeah.
I coached many soccer games and hockey games with the kids growing up. And as Thomas got into rep hockey, I became the manager.
Oh, wow.
So that was a lot of coordinating. And the other tournaments and that kind of stuff. I truly enjoyed it. Miss it. Don't miss driving on the winter roads.
Yeah, I bet.
Those are bad.
Yeah.
If I do have some time, I like to golf.
Oh.
I like to watch hockey. I used to play hockey years ago.
Okay. Yeah.
I like to fish if the friends invite me. I always say I carry a Hycha curse. So whenever I go fishing, we don't catch anything.
Oh no!
But actually, this year proved us wrong, so we did pretty good.
Okay, well that's exciting. You've broken the curse.
I broke the curse.
Good for you.
If they invite me next week. And I'm also I also am a long distance runner.
Oh.
So I just hobby. I don't.
Right.
I do go in the odd marathon. This last year has been virtual, so I do a loop around Camrose, and my wife goes to strategic spots and gives me water.
Yes,
it's not the same as being live.
In a marathon, it's such a unique experience, right?
Yeah, and in the wintertime, I like to curl.
Okay, so, what's your favorite position on the curling team?
Oh, I'm a lead.
Your lead all the time.
I make decisions all day, all night long. When I just need to be told what to do.
I know. Yeah, I know. I'm the same. I like that position. Yeah. Okay. Well, that's great. So I will just start reading questions and we'll go through this. And in what capacities have you been involved? And we kind of know this already, in city activities in your past.
Yeah. So not to repeat myself, but you're right. I sat on 2 terms of council. And when I first got on in 2013, it went from a 3-year term to a 4-year term.
Oh, right. So that's when the switch happened.
Right.
Okay.
So, they're 4-year terms now. So last 8 years I've been on council.
Yeah.
Sat on numerous boards. I've sat on Police Commission, the Capital Region Southwest Water Commission.
Yeah.
Handy Van Society, CRE, Waste Authority, and the Camrose Transit Authority. Just to say a few.
Yeah.
So even one summer, I volunteered to drive the Mirror Lake Express
Oh, the train.
Yeah, the train. I was an engineer for a summer.
Oh, good for you.
I really enjoyed that.
That would be a fun job.
And like I said, when my kids were younger, I coached and managed numerous soccer and hockey teams.
Yeah, kids sports, right?
Kids sports, and I'm a sport. I like my hockey. I like my curling. I like my football and baseball.
Yeah, and so exciting with Pinty's coming back to Camrose in January.
Such a huge opportunity for the
massive.
City. So many people, so many venues, hotels, to grocery stores, to gas stations. It's just a great event, and they do just an amazing job. And I'm sure they'll do an amazing job again this year. Yeah.
So listeners, if you haven't booked your time to come watch the Pinty's in Camrose yet, January, you'll want to get on that sooner than later because it will book up. Okay, so our next question is, what is the greatest strength that you bring to this role, and what will be your biggest learning curve?
So I think people that know me joke or laugh or whatever, say I don't talk a lot. So,
right.
And they're probably right, but I do listen.
Right.
And so I consider myself a great listener.
Yeah.
But when I do talk, I like to think that I talk for a reason and I talk to the point.
Right.
So I'll stand up for anything I believe in.
Yes.
I won't back down because I'm not one of those talkers. But
yes.
So I think my strongest quality is I listen.
Yeah. And
I will stand up for anything I believe in.
Yeah. Yeah. And I've witnessed that in action. So I would totally agree with that.
So I think still today, one of the biggest stumbling blocks that I have is understanding the MGA, the Municipal Governments Act.
Yes.
And those are the rules and regulations. And maybe people don't realize it until they get on council, that we have to follow rules.
Right.
We're provided by the MGA.
Yeah.
Well, this MGA they don't talk like the normal person. I really struggle with that. But, we have good people in administration that help us through that. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's a great point for our listeners. You might have this perception that city council and the mayor can do whatever they want and live within their own rules, but it is actually governed provincially by the Municipal Government Act. And so there's only so much.
For sure. And you're right. It's one of those things that we have rules. Yeah. And we have to follow them. And a lot of our decisions are based on those rules. Yeah. So when people are upset on what we decide on, they really need to just understand the whole picture before they condemn the decision, for sure.
Yeah. And you know what? There's nothing wrong with being the quietest one in the room, right? And listening and speaking when it's important. I think that's a good person to have to keep everybody else calm and collected and input when necessary. Mm-hmm. So, and I can attest to listeners, Kevin I've had the pleasure of having him as one of my bosses actually for 3 years on the CRE board. And that's exactly it. When he talks, the rest of the board shuts up and listens to what Kevin has to say, and we move on from there. So great analytical skills. Okay, next question. What is a change in the city that you would like to see happen? And how do you believe you will help to be a part of that?
So one of the things that I didn't realize until I got on council, and this happens a lot, I would say everywhere, but it happens a lot, and I don't know why, is that the city and the county don't always see eye to eye.
Right.
I truly believe that if we worked closer together, we would accomplish so much more.
Agreed.
And to bet not only the city citizens, but the county residents also.
Right.
So if I'm fortunate to be reelected for the third term and seeing a number of councillors on the county side and the city side switching, that would be my focus, to try to unite us as a group and not independently go after the government for certain projects. And like I said before, we could do so much if we just join hands and work together.
I love that. I think anybody who lives in the city of Camrose knows this issue, and I think they would be excited to hear that.
And it's not that we don't get along.
Right.
I mean, we talk, but there's something that when we get together as a council and we just don't see eye to eye.
Right.
So I would love to see us work closer.
Yeah, maybe a little reset on that relationship with some new blood in there, along with some established blood that knows the, and is willing to look at things a different way and find the solution that's best for all of us. Because I agree, we're strong.
And I think provincially too, the governments want us to work united.
Yeah.
Why do we want to buy a grader for the city and the county when maybe one grader could do a job for both those things?
Yeah.
And engineers and we all have our expertise. So why can't we share that stuff?
Shared resources. Yeah, I love that. I think that would be amazing to have somebody on focusing on that. I think that's only beneficial for everybody.
Absolutely.
So next question, why is municipal politics important to you? Any federal dreams there, Kevin? or provincial?
You know what, when I ran 8 years ago, being on a council wasn't even on my radar.
Okay.
I never thought in school that I was going to do this. I never thought growing up I was going to do this. I never paid much attention to the ways of governance and that kind of thing, but I found myself 8 years ago or 9 years ago complaining a lot.
Yeah.
Why are the roads like this? Boy, the pool is terrible.
Yeah.
Why are my taxes so high?
Right, as a normal citizen would.
Absolutely. And I thought to myself, you know what? I'm going to try to see if I can change it.
I love that.
Instead of complaining, I'm going to
do something.
And to do something about it.
Right.
And like history says, I got in, and I like to think that I did some good.
Yeah.
8 years ago on my platform, I did everything except for one. We got a new pool, public works is in the works, rehabilitation to the roads and sidewalks.
Yeah. So you're delivering on past promises. Well, I love that.
It's taken a lot. It's taken 8 years, but, and that was a hard thing coming from the business world.
Yes.
Usually I make a decision, I implement it. If it doesn't work, I go back and fix it.
Right.
But the municipal world doesn't work. The wheels turn very slow. So it's painful sometimes. It
is painful, especially for those of us in business. We can't, when we get into governance situations, we can't move that fast.
No, like I said, like a lot of what we do there's rules.
Yeah.
And when you're spending the taxpayers' money, you want to make sure that you're spending it wisely.
Yes.
And I learned quickly, and people warned me about this, is you're not going to please everybody all the time.
Yeah.
And I realized that.
Yeah.
But when I go home at night, I like to think I made the right decision for the city as a whole, not just Kevin Hycha or not just for a group. So
well said. And I think that would speak to a lot of people. I think that's what we want is, it's not always the popular decision, but it's the right decision. Right. And that's hard. But you didn't answer my question. Federal politics at some point, Kevin?
I didn't think I was going to run for a third term.
That's right. So who knows? The future is open. Yeah. All right. And so our last question that we ask all the candidates is, why do you believe you are the best candidate for a councillor position?
Well, with such a big turnover, I believe for this term, I have the experience. And I remember back in 2013, we had a few renewing councillors that had a lot of experience and a mayor that knew what he was doing because he'd been mayor for several years. Yeah. Thank goodness we had that because we would have been lost. Okay. So part of the reason why I'm running again is to hopefully I can share my experience with the new councillors. Yeah. To carry on what we've already started. Perfect. I hate to lose focus on 8 years of hard work and that kind of thing. And I'm not saying it would happen, but I would like to be there for those because I know what it's like, and they described it to me in 2013. It's like drinking from a fire hose. And that stuck with me, and it's so true. Yes. Anytime you get into these situations, that we use that in the event world all the time too. It's like drinking from the fire hose. Okay, you're just going to have to absorb what you can and hope the rest of it sticks. So I think it's important to have some consistency to pass on to that next generation that will be leading the city. So that's fantastic. It's a fantastic reason. And coming from, I'll call it a blue collar world, because I'm a trade person. Yeah. It took me a lot longer to really feel comfortable, almost one whole term where others got it in a year or two. Yeah. So I felt the first term wasn't very productive for me. Okay. Second term, I felt very confident. Now, if I'm, elected for the third one, I feel that I can make a difference.
Right.
And help those coming up, because I know what it's going to be like.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's important to have that assistance ready for people who are signing on new this year, or successful with their run that are new. It's nice to have those experienced people you can go to in any industry. And I think we can all relate to that. It's nice to have that mentor you can phone and go, okay, is this really what's happening? Or am I reading this situation wrong?
And I've heard some horror stories from different municipalities and different councilmen where they've sat through council and the councils were divided. Yeah. And then nothing would get accomplished because half of them would vote that way, half of them would vote this way. So I don't want that to, and I don't think the new people coming in deserve that. Yeah. So I think, once again, comparing it to the county, we would work so much better if we just worked as a unit. Yeah. That is inspiring. So anything I've missed, anything you want to add, Kevin? Just one other thing. One thing that I didn't mention, one of the things on my platform last term was to bring in an additional water source for Camrose. Okay, yeah. And one of the things, if I'm fortunate to be elected again, is I really need to at least get the groundwork going. Yeah. And we have sat on the Water Commission board for a few years now, but only as an observer. So what I would like to do is become a member. Yeah. We do. So the city does an amazing job. They pull water from Dried Meat Lake and turn it into potable water. Yeah. My fear is, or my concern is, that if something one day happened, like drought. Yes. And there was no water. Or disease. Or something happened to that water supply. Just think, what would the city do without Dried Meat Lake right now? That is our only water source. Right. So do we need to punch wells? Do we need to bring a pipeline in? Those are the kind of things that I would really like to see happen going forward. That's great, great activity for the future. And it kind of speaks to how you look at things, is not for today, but for the future. Well, we take a lot for granted. So, and I agree. Turning on the tap, open water will be there. And we've seen it throughout the last few years where it's dry and we're told to cut back, and what happens if there is no water? Oh, if there is no water, it's absolutely right. We're so blessed to live where we live, and we just assume it will always be there. So I love that future visioning. Maybe not an issue today, but could be. And so let's get prepared for the future. Well, and you just can't, like, if something happened, you just can't run a pipeline. That's right. Punch a well. That's right. So we really need to plan. Okay. I love that. Thank you for adding that in. Anything else we've missed? No, just I really want to thank you for this. It's like I said, my first one. And you did amazing. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it. All right. Well, thanks to Kevin Hycha. He is running for City of Camrose councillor. To all our listeners, as I do at this point, if you haven't been to Camrose, or you're looking for your next vacation or place to live, I hope you're learning more about our community through these podcasts, and consider us for a visit soon. And who knows, maybe you'll be a resident voting or running for council sometime in the future. So thank you very much, Kevin. Thank you so much. Good luck on your run. And we're looking forward to having you back on the CRE board soon.